Here, dude, welcome to RumblenBreak. It's race Sundays, and this is what our fantasy team looked like. Yeah, it was an interesting one. So let's get talking about it. So this week we are in Canada, but it was actually quite.
They were in a different part of Canada than us.
Yeah, they were in the French speaking part of Canada, good old Montreal. By the St. Lawrence. I think the last time I was there was back in 2003 or sometime along, like when Jacques Villeneuve was still racing at that point for Honda.
I've never been to the race there, but I've been to that venue for paddling. So
yeah, it's a fantastic little venue. It's kind of like a street track, but kind of not. It's kind of permanent.
It's a little bit like Australia in the sense it's like a permanent.
It's a park.
Yeah, it's a park.
So, all right, so let's talk qualifier. I mean, it was
practice and qualifier.
Yeah.
Rain, and more rain.
I was actually hoping for rain because it would have made things a lot more interesting. I mean, it was still relatively interesting.
You mean rain at the race?
Would it rain in the race?
Yeah.
It would have been
to be clear, rain every other part of the weekend except the race.
Except for the race, yeah. I mean,
which is good.
Let's talk qualifier. I mean, qualifier was interesting.
Lots of spins.
Lance Stroll with the giant spinorama, like right off the gate. Q1.
hard to figure out tire strategy. Like, in fact, tire strategy proved key for qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, you had several big names actually not making it into the Q3.
Like Leclerc, perfect example, right? They knew the rain was coming. They didn't put the intermediates or maybe it was even wets, and they just didn't call it right. And then meanwhile, Alex Albon has nothing to lose, goes out in Q2 on softs while everybody else is on intermediates and puts it into the first position, and then the rain came. And nobody else could top that time.
And even then, like, he was still so fast that I think he topped Verstappen, and Verstappen actually came in second.
But Verstappen didn't have softs on, right?
Sure,
like Williams had nothing to lose, and they called it right. So I mean, that really helped Albon's race ultimately.
I mean, unfortunately for Albon, I mean, he finished 10th in the Q3.
He didn't even go out and set a time.
Yeah, exactly, because the rain was so heavy, it just didn't matter.
So it was an upside down qualifier. You basically had like a lot of big names. Perez also didn't make it in, so Leclerc, Perez both don't make it into Q3.
I mean, but the interesting for Q3 is that you had McLaren for the second consecutive
two both McLaren cars. So clearly McLaren cars,
the cold,
like the cold. Yeah, they do well in colder conditions. That seems to be where they race well. So.
I mean, it was unfortunate for Piastri, who crashed out and ended up finishing in 9th, because I mean he still set a track time.
He did. He set a time.
So that's the only reason why he didn't start in 10th. So let's talk about the race. I mean, it was a very interesting race. Let's talk. Let's go with the top 3 first, and it was...
Yeah. Well, so right away, you have a front row of Verstappen, as expected. Nobody didn't expect that, and Alonso.
Well, technically it was actually Hulkenberg, but Hulkenberg got some sort of penalty.
There was a couple weird penalties. He and Sainz both got weird penalties after qualifying and knocked it in. Hulkenberg qualified second, and then
Sainz deserved this penalty because he was driving so weird in qualifying. Yeah, okay. He obstructed Gasly.
But I don't know what Hulkenberg did. I still don't understand why they gave him a penalty.
I have no idea. But there was even throughout the race. I mean, this is where we'll talk about it later as we open the packs. Like the stewards, there's something wrong with the stewards. They need to find a permanent system. Whether it's like in hockey, they're calling up to New York, or baseball. I forget what one of them calls up to New York to find out whether.
I think the key thing for the top 3 is Verstappen, Alonso, Hamilton battling it out.
Yeah. So
and how did it end up?
So here's how it ended up. You got hammer time. It was hammer time.
He was in second for quite a while, but then Alonso took it back.
Yeah, and then second was Alonso, and then Verstappen. Surprise. This guy was so fast, like it's unbelievable.
Listen, there's a different level. We figured that he's so bored with not being on the video because they never show him. Once he starts, he's done. Like, you never see him again.
Aside from the first maybe 4 laps, you don't see him again for the rest of the race.
They don't even bother showing him. So then our theory is now he starts doing silly things to like get it to not really. He's not really doing it.
I think he was like he had a good chuckle where he almost wiped out.
Like 6 laps before the end, he went over a curb and he's like, "Oh,
I almost knocked myself out
of the curb." And he was joking about that. Then he hit a bird.
Oh yeah.
He's like, "I think I hit a bird," and then nobody could find video of this bird because they weren't bothering to follow him at all with the cameras. Turned out he did hit a bird. It was in his brake ducts.
Yeah, I was surprised that nobody hit a gopher.
That's true.
Or a groundhog, or whatever it is that like the pest that's in the that area. Groundhogs, yeah, exactly. So, well, why don't we get opening and let's keep talking about the race itself. I mean, it was poor Russell.
Poor Russell.
Russell was having...
He's fourth. He was good. Lap was 11. No idea how he puts it in the wall. Just takes himself out, but didn't. He managed to keep the car moving, so was able to drive back.
Oh, nice.
That's a nice card.
That is a very nice card. Gasly and Verstappen, 2 former Red Bulls.
Yeah. He limped back to the under safety car, limps back to the pit. They fix it. He goes back out again, and then I don't remember what lap it was, but it was like way later in the race. They had to retire it. So, I mean, I think he was on track to be maybe 6th or 7th, and unfortunately he had to retire from the race.
Yeah.
But midfield, wow.
It was an incredible race for the midfield. Like, aside from like you do have the odd Hamilton, Alonso sort of
so there was some shenanigans Alonso and Hamilton earlier in the race. Like, Hamilton got Alonso right off the start, and then in the under safety car, Hamilton kind of jumped out. Alonso was a little over dramatic about how close the cars were, and Latifi would have been in the wall for sure.
Oh yeah, like 100% been into the wall. That's a neat photo.
That's a nice photo. But yeah, so I mean, you got a little bit of Alonso and Hamilton, but there really wasn't much going on at the front. The Ferraris also were sitting fourth. They had a good race. Ferrari got their tire strategy right, finally. And they end up 4th and 5th. Like, it worked out really well.
Yeah. And then next we have this guy, and let's talk about him and his road rage battle with Nick DeVries.
Well, I don't know. DeVries tried to shove him. They basically were bumping tires, and then DeVries tried to shove him off, not intentionally.
He looked like he was going to run off that same piece of track like twice. Like,
I know. Anyways, and then they both went off. If you haven't seen the video, go watch the highlights. It's pretty funny, the two of them. But again, that was a midfield battle. So I mean, there was a lot of action in the midfield. Like you basically had from. Well, Perez got through, so he sat 6th. He also had like a quiet race, but from 7th. Down to, I want to say, like 15th. It was all up for grabs.
I mean, like,
it was a train with Albon at the front.
Albon was incredible. I mean, like, you could not pass Albon if your life depended on it.
The tire whisperer, man.
The tire whisperer.
Yeah.
That's an interesting little looks like the Rolex logo.
Well, and talking about Sebastian Vettel, I mean, obviously spent a lot of time with Red Bull early in his career and helped with their win tally, which is Max is now helping with, and they just got their 100th victory this race. So the big celebration for them with the 100th win as a team. Only, I think, 4 other teams have done it. Mercedes, Ferrari, I can't remember the other 2, McLaren, and one more, I think. And then the other big thing was Verstappen with this win tied with Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, it was 44, number 42 or 41? 41. Number 41. So that's, congrats to Max on that one.
What is that?
That's a Guan Yu Zhou. He was having quite a race too.
He was having some challenges in qualifying and stuff. And he was up a bit, and then he was down a bit.
It's a neat Lewis Hamilton race. There's 2 refractors.
I like these refractors.
Yeah, and then here's the
Stroll before his.
I should check his face on, put Alonso's face on there. Step brothers.
I think the best honestly was I heard someone say this now because Verstappen has won so many races in a row that it's just become like Verstappen's podcast when they have like the 3 winners and they talk to them.
I like how
It is. It was neat though. Having 3 world champions in the room was really cool.
It was really cool. So I mean, I honestly wish that the Hulkster himself would have actually put himself up in the Hulkenberg.
He has a car that has. Listen, Haas has an amazing 1-lap pace. They just can't maintain it through the race.
No, unfortunately, that would have been his rookie card for Mick.
You see Mick a lot. He's always with Toto. Yeah, good backup. George, don't crash into the wall. George,
I mean, again, he was doing so well, and then like his brakes just went out.
I'm honestly, considering how hard a hit that was, I'm actually shocked they were able to get back to the pits and fix the car quickly. B, he caught up to the pack and working. He was back.
Yeah, he was last. He
went from last back up into the points. He was sitting in 8th when his car went out.
And then that's what happens when you have a good mental game versus Leclerc. I mean, as much as like I think a lot of these Ferrari miscalcs and errors have gotten sort of to his head a little bit, unfortunately.
Maybe, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's tire strategy. I think the difference between him and Sainz is Sainz knows to say, no, I'm not coming in for those tires, or no, I am coming in, whereas Leclerc is still trusting the team.
I think that was Matty. Matty's the bad luck, because after he hung out with Matty, he started losing his races.
No, I think Ferrari had a very good race, considering how low they started. They were both outside the points when they started, and they finished 4th and 5th. So.
Right. So the last card is, bam! Oh, there you go. Verstappen Refract. That's a nice looking card. That's an old Red Bull.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad.
Well, and that's an appropriate final card considering where we're gonna be.
So
next weekend
we're gonna try to actually do like a little walkthrough, a live stream from the Red Bull Ring. So we got our passes, and we'll be broadcasting in Austria for our next show. So stay tuned and have a great week. See you next race.